add polynomials. So polynomials are expressions with many different variables. And then we're going to add polynomials by combining the same variables. And then we're going to keep the like variables when adding. So let's go ahead and look at the first example to see what this all means. So example 1, we're going to simplify this following expression. So notice we are adding polynomials. So when we look at this, right, we have 4x to the third plus 3x plus 2 plus, and then in parentheses, negative 3x to the third plus 10x squared minus 1. So let's go ahead and rewrite this. Now, we can go ahead and only add like terms. So what does that really mean, right? Well, when we look at this, right, we have the variable x to the third, we have x squared, and then we just have numbers. So we can only go ahead and add the ones so they're exactly the same. So notice we have an x to the third there, or x cubed. And notice we also have one right here. So we can actually add these together. So I'm going to put them under red to understand that we're going to add those two together. Then notice we have a 3x here, and we don't have any more just x's by itself as a variable, right? We have x squared, so that's entirely different. So we're going to underline it in black. And then let's go ahead and we'll put the boxes around the numbers to indicate that we're going to add those together. So we really only have two sets of two things we're going to add together. So let's go ahead and actually just realign this. So if we have 4x to the third and then minus 3x to the cubed, we'll put that in parentheses, that we'll need to add those together. Now notice we could go 4x to the third plus negative 3x to the cubed, or we could just go 4x to the third, right, minus 3x to the third, which means the exact same thing. Now let's keep going. So we have let's go ahead and do the 10x squared next. So we have plus 10x squared. Then there's nothing to add with it, so we'll just leave it as is. Then we have plus 3x. And then lastly, we have a number. So we have 2. So plus 2. And I'm going to show you this. Plus negative 1. Right, so if we do it just like 2 minus 1, or we do 2 plus negative 1, right, these mean the exact same thing, where we go plus negative something or just minus something. They mean the same thing. So I'm just trying to indicate that by the two arrows to say we can express it two different ways. So now let's go ahead and now start to solve. So we have 4x to the third minus 3x to the third. Well, all we do is we actually look at the numbers in order to solve for this. We have 4 minus 3, so then that's just 1 x to the third. And then we're done. So then we can move on. And then we don't need to do anything with the 10x squared because we can't add it to any others because there's no other variable like it. Then we have plus 3x. And then we have the numbers. So we can go 2 plus negative 1. So that would just be plus 1. So our final answer, so if there's no number in front of a variable, we understand that it's 1. So the same thing could happen where you just go ahead and exclude it when you go ahead and submit it into OneMap and just go x to the third plus 10x squared plus 3x plus 1. So all of this is our whole solution. So let's do the next example. So example 2, we're going to simplify this following expression. So notice we have even more variables, right? We have C and D, and very much different combinations of those. So let's go ahead and just rewrite this first. So the first thing I'm going to do is indicate which ones are similar and that we can add together. So the first thing I notice right off the bat is we just have CD and CD here. So we're going to go ahead and put them under red, right? Like a line kind of bar underneath it to indicate we're going to add those two together. Then let's look for other ones. So we see, so we have C, D to the third. Do we have any others like that? Well, not this one, and not this one, but this one, yes, right? This is C, D to the third. So we're going to go ahead and add those together. Then notice we have C squared, D, right, left. And then we look at this one, and this one's also. Now, let's go ahead and add the ones with the same color underneath. So let's go ahead and start with the black. So let's actually go ahead and just rewrite it so they're closer. Then we have plus 3 minus CD to the third. We'll close the bracket, plus, then we have, now remember this negative is attached to this one. Then we have this one, so this is plus 3C squared D, close the brackets, plus, and I wrote too big. I'm going to go 2CD plus 3CD. So now let's go ahead and just add these together. So we just look at the variables. Noticing we can just substitute a 1 in right there because that's what that means, right? With no number in front of the variables, that means that there's a 1. So we have 2 minus 1, so that's just 1, C, D to the third, plus, then we have negative, you can say 1, C squared D, plus 3, C squared D. So then that's 2, right? We're just adding the numbers, so negative 1 plus 3. So, and then plus, and then we're just adding the numbers here, so that's 5, and we just leave the variables. So this whole thing is our solution. Now when you go ahead and submit it, you can go ahead and submit it like this if you want. Right? You don't have to do the brackets around them. So this would be the way I'd probably submit it, so it's less things I have to put in.